to have a liberal arts training, it gives you an essential set of tools to look through the world with different lenses and to make connections to things that people who have just a technical training or a very narrow kind of training will never ever see. And that and the ability to make those kind of connections and relationships is what gives you your power of creation and innovation. And in a complex world of interrelated, interdependent dynamics, you have to be able to see the world through a lot of different lenses and connect all those dots. What do you do? How do you manage your life when there's nothing you can control except your own mind? And I think that's the essence of what I'm trying to do in my classes, because sometimes people are plunged into situations where they have no control over the external circumstances, but they do have control over their mind and how their mind reacts or responds to things. And the more conscious energy we can bring to that and more conscious choice we can bring to that, especially in situations where a person might have a lot of responsibility or they might be riding on a lot of the decision that they're going to make, that the more wherewithal they can bring to that process, the more likely there's going to be a desirable result taken from that action. The unit of analysis we work with is the moment. And at the moment, you can approach, and it's the moment of what's happening with you in this moment. So we look at three variables. What's happening in your body, which most people have a hard time connecting with because we are trained to think. And so, so I think at the University of Chicago, where I felt like my head was on my body, and the role of my body was to simply carry around my head. And I think that's probably emblematic of Western culture, because it's again, I think, therefore I am. And so we're just thinking creatures. And so to simply get people to pay attention to what's happening in their body, what is your body telling you? You walk, think about, and I think intuitively we know this is kind of real information, but we're never trained to pay close attention to it. But I think everybody's experienced it when you've, say, gone apartment hunting and you walk into a place that you're thinking about and you just know right away, oh, this isn't it, right? Or you walk into the place and you think, oh yeah, this is it. And well, what is that? Your body's telling you some kind of information. And so we pay attention to what's happening in your body. And we learn that your body's messages have syntax and language. And we pay attention to what that language is. Do you feel constricted? Do you feel open? Do you feel heavy? Do you feel light? Do you feel dark? Do you feel burdensome? Do you feel joyful? Right? And that's all mediated through what your body's telling you. So that's one thing. And then, what are the emotions you're experiencing? And it doesn't have to be dramatic emotion. Maybe it's just a sense of interest or curiosity, or maybe it's I walked away from that conversation feeling a little uneasy. I'm not sure what that was about. Okay, that's information. And then the third thing, so you have the body, you have emotional reactions, and then you have narratives or stories. Like what's the little chatterbox in your head saying? And sometimes it's meaningful, and sometimes it's absolute garbage. Because if you pay attention to what kind of broadcasts itself in your head, usually it's negative. Usually it's about yourself, and or it's nasty things about other people, or it's just this kind of. It's like not a great radio station to listen to most of the time, right? And we're never trained to see that process. And so by looking at what's happening inside you, with your body, with your emotions, and with the narratives or stories going on in your head, you start to see the habitual ways you're responding or reacting to what's going on around you. And how does that spill out into your actions? And what do those actions bring about in terms of result? And so you start to see this feedback loop of, oh, I notice I have this narrative about, I don't know, whatever. And then that influences my actions, and it brings about this result that I don't like, and it keeps feeding itself. So then you learn how to cut those patterns and do something else. And so I call it bending the future. Right? You're creating a new future by making different kinds of choices.